Daenerys here, and today we're thrilled to have Ashley back for part two of our Writers Room video cast. We're going to dive into the second half of Power Book 2, Go Season 4. So if you thought part 1 was intense, you're in a treat for today.
Yes, and I'm Hot Nerd Syd. I'm so excited to keep diving deep into the character journeys. We saw a lot transpire. Ashley, you didn't tell us. I know you weren't supposed to. You didn't tell us how crazy the second half of the season was going to be. But man, did Power Book 2 Ghosts end with a bang. It was such a compelling watch, and I'm just excited to get into all of it. So I'll pass it back to you, Neri, to kick us off.
Yes, so I know last time we focused on the writer's development. And how you guys all come up with the story, all of like the techniques and things that go on in the background. So this time we wanted to focus a little bit more on the story itself and from your perspective, from a writer's perspective, how you thought the whole project came together. Were there any things that you would wanted to have changed or wanted to expound upon? You know, we're going to ask you why you killed off Monet in your episode, but we'll get to that. But yes, wanted to start there. Like, how did you feel overall from your perspective that this season ended up?
Going into it, we didn't know it was going to be the final season. So that in itself makes you look back and you just think like, oh, if I had known, I probably would have pitch things a lot differently because we think that we're going to continue, and so we shape it in through the vein of like, oh, we're going to continue versus this may be the end, this may be the last time we ever see these characters. So that makes you look at it very differently. But in general, I know we talked about the first time, it's like the theme of Ghost is, am I my father, right? Like that's what Tariq's journey is throughout the entire series. And so when you get to that final scene of episode 10 and Chinadu is saying to him, so essentially you're gonna be a ghost, you get that moment with Tariq where he realizes the reasons partially why his father acted the way he did in the original Power. And so to me, it is a beautiful ending as far as storytelling goes, to say we go into a series and the question is, am I my father? And that final beat is the answer to the question that we've been trying to answer since we met Tariq when he was a kid in the first episode of Power. So it's a beautiful journey in that way. And so I can't be mad at the end result. Even though we did know it was the finale, we were able to conquer the goal of answering the series' question.
Did you want that to be the answer? Did you want Tariq to turn into Ghost, or did you
I
pick?
feel like it's inevitable, and so I won't say it's what I want per se, but I don't know, it's maybe it's like State Farm. I can't remember. It's like the commercial, but all the people act like their parents in the commercial. You know what I'm talking about? That commercial.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I feel like in some ways we become our parents, right? They raised us. They gave us who they were. And so we live with that, and even if we change a little bit, some things are inherent. Like I still wake up on weekends in the morning and play music and clean up. That's what my mom did, that's what I do. And so it is what it is in that way. But I think like whether I want it or not, it is true to who Tariq is, because even when he was in high school, he wakes up and he's like, I'm going to sell drugs, teach me how. And it's
Right.
like,
We
hey,
all remember
this
that.
is the journey we're on.
Awesome. I could definitely see the parallels there, and even just when you're saying like our parents raised us and we are inherently have characteristics from them. Would you say that also is a parallel with other characters within the show? Like for instance, Diana. Like I feel as though that scene was powerful.
Yeah.
Um, in the finale, to watch her sit, at the head of the
Yeah.
table,
She stood at the head of
the
that
moment.
table and
Exactly. So, how would you
100%.
say even other characters evolved into their parents
Yeah,
as well?
I think the Tejadas, every single one of them, like they are a blend of Lorenzo and Monet. Like if you look at Lorenzo and Monet, you can see like every piece of them. And Diana is probably the easiest example for it, because even when you have in 9 where they're headed to the amusement park, like Vicky's amusement park. It's like in that moment, she is like running the show. She's telling Drew like, "We about to go in here and save Monet." And then when you get to 10, Monet is like, "I'm about to go in here and save Kane." Like it's like
Yeah.
literally these are two people that you could just blend and you can see in 10 years, that she's running her own organization and has her own kids and is raising them to, this is what we do at home and this is what you tell people that you do at school. She's like teaching them all the ticks that Monet taught all of her kids. So I do think, and with Kane, I think is easy too, because like he's a drug dealer, he knows it, he wants it, this is what he is. If you look at those flashbacks with Monet and Lorenzo when they were younger, she knew it, she wanted it, this is who she was. So it's kind of that thing where it's like you can fight it, even Drew, you can fight it, Drew, but it's in you.
He
So
was a fighter. He
yeah.
would have had it
And a
just
lot,
be art.
unfortunately, a lot of the characters like Effie, we didn't really get to tell the stories of their backstory the same. Like we met her mom, and it was, when now that the show's ending, it feels like a throwaway, but it was supposed to be where we could live and understand how and why she operates the way she does. Which when we meet her in Original Power, she's in high school and she's very selfish. She like snitches on Tariq, right? And then when you meet her mom and you see that her mom kind of left her like alone and allowed her to be eaten by the wolves, which was her mom's boyfriend, I feel like you can understand now why she had no thought about snitching on Tariq, because she's like, no one looks out for me except me. I can't even trust my mom. And so yeah, I think it is a true statement that we are who we are because of the environment that we were reared in. Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I was just gonna say that's very very clear, and I think that that's such a great motif. It also is incredible, just reminding us. I think since we've known that this is the last season, and the fact that this was such a big bang at the end, it could easily be a last season. You forget that you all were writing it with the intention of it being a last season, but to me at least that feels very authentic in the way that it has
Yeah,
ended, even though there's still ties that she could have kept going on at
totally.
the very end there. But I guess like for me, one of my questions is just like, how do you maintain this balance between like having this high stakes drama um and and trying to give these characters a worthwhile emotional ending, especially a character as important as Monet?
The interesting thing about it is like when I think about like drama, but then like keeping emotional edge and being authentic, I really think it's like we're all humans, and even if we try to avoid it, we all have these little messy drama filled pieces in our lives, right? And so I think it's in that way, it's like the stakes are inherent, right? Because we're in a drug dealing like environment where you can always get killed or go to jail and da da da. But I think the emotional pieces is literally just taking the other people that fill your environment and like just telling stories that we often go through in our lives. Like a big part of the writers' room is like talking about what you've experienced, talking about what happened, during your time at Thanksgiving with your family. And in those moments, that shit was not funny, right? But like when you can like put it in the show and you can realize like, oh, this situation applies across the board. It's like genuine, authentic drama that we can take from everyday life, throw it into the show, and just it keeps it going. It's just so like inherent in life.
I
For
agree.
sure.
I love that because that really puts, like you said, like a humanistic perspective
Yeah,
on what is actually being portrayed on camera. I know I've seen a lot of different interviews and a lot of different takes from just fans or just comments, from after the season has ended, which we'll get into,
yeah.
how you felt about the reaction overall, but, just how people can just relate. I think, and how that's been just an important piece of power. Like,
Yeah.
especially all the dinner scenes with Diana, like how people can remember, like you said, like going to Thanksgiving, going to different family gatherings,
Yeah.
and being able to kind of put yourself in their perspective or in their shoes, or at least try to sympathize and empathize with what they're going through by just
Mhm.
making it so relatable. Because even if they are, in a high stakes, like drama filled community, there's still those aspects where it's like, okay, even if I'm not necessarily going through that, or even if that isn't necessarily my journey or my life, like I could still, I know where you're coming from, Diana, where you just have to let everything
You
out,
gotta let it go. Yeah,
or
yeah. Release
Drew,
yourself.
yeah, or Drew, even, in the middle of his family members trying to kill him, like, I'm still gonna let you know how I feel, though. Like, I still
Right.
gotta let you know where I'm coming from. So, I definitely think
100%.
that that was heavily portrayed, and I think really put nicely.
Yeah, it's true because it's like Kane's got a gun to Drew's head, and Drew's like, "Oh, the mama's boy gonna kill me?" Like
Yeah,
you like,
right. Where it's like, Kane, you killed a lot of people for a lot less. And,
right,
like now we're seeing like you actually talking to your brother, like what it's like to talk to someone who you don't really have a whole lot of stake with versus like, this is my actual family member. Because I noticed that was, just a huge like topic throughout the season and even within the last episodes. Like, especially I think for Kane, like, is am I going to side with my family, am I going to stay loyal to my family, or
right.
am I going to kind of be my own man and
Hmm.
let that part of me go. But I think it was just so powerful in in episode 9, right before Monet is dying, like how he has that very emotional reaction. Because it's like, at the end of the day, no matter, we've seen through all out 4 seasons, them kind of go back and forth. But at that moment, we had to just realize, like, that is still his mom. Like, he
Exactly,
still has,
exactly.
that emotional tie. And then, like you said, like right before he's trying to kill Drew, like, that's still my brother.
Right,
Like, these
exactly.
are still my family members that I actually really do care
And I
deeply
think I
about.
think those dinner scenes that we've seen from season 1 allow you to understand how Monet kinda reared her children. It allows you to see the intimacy at which they interact, like, not saying they're the Cosbys because clearly they're not, but also, hey, it was Bill, never mind, that's another topic.
At
But
least
it's
they were open about it.
there
Okay.
you go. But, it's like you sit down with these people for dinner, 2 to 4 times a week. You understand them, you see them, you respect them, you love them, all the things. So even in moments of conflict, those are the people that you started off life with. It was no one else, you know? And I do think when you get to those scenes, especially with Kane and even with like Drew and Diana, it's like these are my siblings. This is my mom, this is my dad. Like there's a level of love that can never be you can't reach this level of love with anyone else, you know? And for Kane in that moment when he's talking to Noma and he's saying, I would never turn on my mom. She's the only person who's been with me through everything. In that moment, you can X out all the times that she called him stupid. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. What mattered are the moments in which she portrayed true love, you know?
Because that even reminds me too of like, because there are many points where others were even coming to Monet saying like, basically, do I have the green light to kill Kane, or like, can
Yeah.
I make a
And
move on?
the answer is always hell no.
Yes, she was
No.
always very
Never.
like, no, no, like, I'll handle it if it ever gets to that, and it's like,
Yeah.
knowing you're not going to do that,
Right.
like, you're not going to just take out your one of your children. So I definitely think that was very much like came to a head, like when he had such an emotional reaction. Like, how was that like writing that scene? Like, where did you draw like the inspiration from, or even just the wording? Because I found it interesting that he was saying, while she was dying, like, wait, wait, like, hold on, like, just give me almost like one more chance to kind of just, say whatever else I need to say.
Yeah.
So what was kind of
You
going
know,
through writing that?
the thing with Kane and Monet has been something in the writers' room since the very beginning. Like, because from season 1, they would kind of bump heads, but then he was always the mama's boy. He's the one who never really dated anybody. He's just like, always did what Monet said. And so it is that question of what creates a mama's boy, what is the thing that makes you so loyal to your mom that no one else can like even find space, to kind of persuade you. And Noma and a little bit of Effie were the two things that we brought in to say, could they potentially sway Kane away from Monet? The reason that you choose to answer no is kind of his explanation that he gave, which is that, as a kid, all I had was one person, and that one person was Monet. So it is that thing of like, no matter how much you do to a person, no matter how much you like as an adult, you can like do and say things and they can understand it differently. But as a child, you knew that there was one person that you could trust, and that childhood ranged true over everything. And that was kind of the conclusion about how mama's boys are made, right? It's that thing where it's like, as a child, I could only go to and trust this one thing, this one person. And so as an adult, it's still the thing that makes me comfortable, even if it's rooted in trauma, right? And so that's kind of Kane's like whirlwind. And to give credit where it is due, Woody, the actor for Kane, is the person who like kind of wanted that backstory. Like he was the one who went to Courtney in the beginning of Ghost and kind of said, I think that this is Kane's backstory and this is what makes sense for some of his actions. And we never really leaned into it. And then the showrunner for season 4, Brett Mahoney, decided that that was the moment that we should lean into it. So I can't take credit for it in the sense that just because it was my episode, because it was still a very much a collaborative like moment that was created over all of the seasons.
A true labor of love. And I couldn't help but notice, even working back from Monet's perspective, we've seen like this kind of arc in how she like really speaks to her children, but really speaks to Kane. Like you said, a lot of their interactions were had this layer of trauma in it, but it felt as if near to the end there, I don't know, like did she what made her kind of shift her language toward him at the very end there? Do you feel like she knew? You
Yeah.
writing the scene, do you feel like she knew she was coming to an end? I don't know.
No, no, no. I don't think it's she knew she was coming to the end, but I think it's the realization that your children are growing up or older, and you may or may not have the same pull on their actions, but it's like looking at them and it's that realization of like, you are making choices for yourself, and I'm going to, even if I don't want to because I don't like Noma, I'm going to attempt to respect it, and that was intentional. So going into season 4, it was like, who is Monet and how is she going to evolve, this season? And some of the talk was about her evolving as a mother. And so it was an intentional thing to say, she don't necessarily tell her kids that she love them. Maybe we should try that. She don't necessarily say to her kids, I'm proud of you, or like, I'm sorry. Maybe we should try that, because if you look at, I think it's episode either 1 or 2, and Drew was like asking her about the whole like Gordo and Lorenzo because she set up their deaths. She didn't apologize to him. She justified herself. And so that's an intentional moment in that earlier episode so that you can see by the end of the season that she had changed because she's able to say, I'm sorry. And in 9, she tells both Drew and Diana, I'm not forcing you to come along with Tariq and I on this ride. This
Right.
is your choice.
Yeah.
Yes. And so those are the moments where we're attempting to show the growth of the woman, not just as a person, but as a mother.
No, that definitely makes sense, and I could definitely see her growth because even like as you were saying, like her aspects of a mother, like it makes me think of those flashbacks also too. Like even like
Exactly.
when she's talking to her sister, like
Hmm.
in a way, like did I mess up? Like did
Hmm.
I steer them in the wrong path, or did I prepare them? Did I make them equipped? And in a way, somewhat both.
And it's
'Cause
perfect that you just said that because that's what Janet's whole purpose was, right? Is because We meet Monet in one. She is in that place between heaven and hell, right? Is she going to die? We don't know. We're like, oh shit, Monet may die, right? And then she lives, and then what we get is this blast from the past, which are the flashbacks and Janet, which allow us to understand how Monet became the person that we've seen for 3 seasons, but then we're able to push into season 4 with like her evolution. But what's funny, in my opinion, I say funny, but really it's a great juxtaposition is that what we also see throughout season 4 is Diana's ascend to be Monet, and then Monet's kind of ascend to become like a different person, you know? So we see the characters evolve. Like Monet's evolving into a person who maybe doesn't want to control everything and be a drug lord. And then what you see is like her kids evolve into becoming her.
Especially Kane. It felt like that was his main motivation for some of the decisions he was making, especially that decision to want to, even marry Noma. and,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah. 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 Kane to me has been the one person throughout the entire series who's very clear. Like, like that line he said to Diana and Drew in like I think it was season 3. He's like, ain't nobody trying to be no motherfucking housewife. Like, when nobody's going to the NBA, nobody's trying to be housewives of Atlanta type vibe. Like, we are drug dealers. Like, like we sell drugs, we murder people, and we live in a criminal underworld. Like I walk through this world in black, so I'm not recognized in the grocery store type of vibe. And so he's been clear, but the thing that was always unclear about Kane was is he able to do it without his family, right? Like that was always the question of like, are you able to accomplish this without Drew and your mom telling you and helping you, blah, blah, blah. And so his push with Noma was to prove, I don't even think to them, I think to himself
Yeah.
that he's able to operate in a world that doesn't include a person with the last name Tejada.
Yeah, I definitely think that we saw the like the peak of that when they were in that last scene, when they were when he was right about to kill Noma. Like you could see him kind of step up, almost as a father figure, or even just as like an older influence to Diana and Drew. Like okay, basically now that both of our parents are gone, I can step up and I am going to step up. And now I
Mhm.
really am going to do kind of like the ultimate test. Like, can I take out, you know, the one kind of like adversary that kind of caused us to be in all of this? Because at first it looked like he was going to hesitate. We were all like, no, okay, you gotta do this for Monet.
Right.
You gotta carry it out. But it really did look like he was going to pause for that moment. But when he ended up actually executing and basically taking out Noma in that
Noma.
moment, it's like, wow, like we kind of like see the evolution kind of come full circle for Kane. Like, yes, he is capable of doing these things
Mhm.
and making these decisions and carrying through without Monet. But now it would be interesting, like if the story were to continue on, like where that leads him. Like, is he going to be a little bit lost, or can he just really kind of naturally step in and take things a little bit more rationally?
Yeah, and it's probably a little bit of both, right? I think
Yeah,
the great thing about life is that we fumble and then we stumble and then we get back up kind of vibe. So it's a little bit of both. But to me, the great thing about the one scene where he killed Noma at we're at that little private jet airstrip was he gave Diana and Drew the advice, right? And then he
yeah.
dips. And you think he's like leaving. You're like, wait, well, why don't they just go with him? It's because he's not leaving them to just get arrested. He's leaving them to say, I'm gonna go finish the mission that we started this episode with, which is to exact revenge, for Monet's death. So yeah, he stepped up. That's what we say back
They
home. He
did.
stepped up.
In a way, that scene reminded me very much of when Tariq had to kill Ray Ray in the original
Yep.
Power series, because it was like that moment where it's like, my parents aren't telling me to do this. I
Right.
don't have Kanan, 50 Cent's character, telling me to do this.
Right.
And then on Kane's aspect, I don't have Noma or even my mom telling me to do
But
this.
also it's like, this is your fault. Like
Yeah,
Raina died because
yeah,
Tariq was playing
yeah,
around in these streets with Kanan,
yeah,
right? And then Monet died because Kane is playing around in these bed sheets with Noma.
yeah.
So it's like, when something is your fault, stand on business and handle it.
Yeah.
You know?
So definitely that is what like made I think fans even like change their perspective on both characters. Like to see Kane, actually be for his family and not kind of working against his family. Same
Yeah.
with I think like Tariq, like, okay, now you're actually working for your family
Yep.
instead of, trying to go against Ghost with Kanan. It's like
Right.
either of those weren't going to work, but now, at least we see after it's all said and done, what are you going to do with the aftermath of it? And it's like, are you going to run, or are you
Mhm.
going to, like you said, stand on business and actually, take care of it? And so
Yep.
it was interesting to see that they both kind of chose both paths, because it's interesting. Like we talked about how specifically Kane and Monet, and how his background is him being the mama's boy, and that is his dynamic with his mom. How would you explain Tariq and Tasha? Like on the other hand, like how would you explain their dynamic in
You
comparison?
know, Tariq, I think that at some point, and then I think it was at season 4 or 5 of Power, original Power, Tariq went to Tasha and he said, teach me the game. He had gone to Ghost, right? He had gone
Yeah,
to his
go
dad
say,
and he said, teach me the game, Ghost. And
yeah,
Ghost was like, go to private school.
right.
He was
He's
like,
like, get
get
out of
out of
my
here.
face.
Yeah, get out of my face, boy. I'm about to teach you nothing but, algebra, like vibe.
Right.
Then he goes to Tasha and he says, "Teach me the game." And she pulled out the notepad, and she taught him the
Yeah,
game. So in that way, I think Tasha is a confidant, right? Tasha is someone who he can trust to be honest with him. He's not a mama's boy in the same way that Kane is. He doesn't need his mom to like go about life, but
right.
in moments of distress, he needs someone that he can trust. And Tasha is that person for him that will be honest with him and tell him when he's messing up, tell him how to like figure out the right avenue. Like that's what she is. And we have to realize that's what she was for Ghost, right?
Yeah,
You're in season 1 and you're talking about, she's like, she told him that advice. He's like, somebody's like coming for us. She was like, you remember what the Jamaicans did? They chopped up bodies and it was all over NYC. And then that's what, Ghost and Tommy did. And so her role for Ghost, you can just remove him and insert Tariq, right? She is very much like a person. She's an advisor, that's her role and she plays it well.
that's
It feels just playing on back onto just those callbacks that you're able to do when you're building a world like
Yeah.
this. I felt like those callbacks were also inherent in the episode that you wrote, and how just like they were trying to plan around each other, knowing like for both sides
Yeah.
what the other side might do. Like when you're thinking about that, you're trying not to just balance, of course, the emotional weight of what is eventually going to happen, but like how are you thinking, or especially specifically for your episode, especially since last time we talked you said you had to rewrite. I'm excited to hear about why. But
Yeah.
like when you're thinking about what parts of the world you're going to call back to, what, like, how do you bucket those sections in your mind? Is it like I want to pull from similar strategies so that we're showing how the characters have learned from it? Like
Yeah. It's
what
always it is I do think it's generally it's either from a place of like evolution. We say, oh, they should have learned from this. Maybe we can figure out how to tie it in. You're like, wow, like Tariq should have learned from this one thing, or like somebody should have learned from this thing. So let's figure out how we can make it better. But also there are certain things that they just live. Like people just talk about them all the time randomly. And so those things, we know how much it impacted like the universe and made it special. And so if you can do it in a great way to call it back, then it works. You know what I mean? Like it's just like those things that give you the good feels when you watch a show. And so you want to play a little bit into the things that make the show iconic, but also as humans, you say, well, in real life, we should learn from our mistakes and we grow and all the things. So as characters, We don't want to just repeat the same character every episode, every season. So you want them to be able to grow. And so we take those things from the past and we allow the characters to have a human experience. Yeah.
I love that.
And some of them are intentional, like in the room, but some of them are just the writers, right? Sometimes you read a script and you like, dang, they pulled back from that's wild, that's perfect. And it just works, you know?
Absolutely.
What was your favorite moment, or what was your like pullback moment that you wanted to like make sure was present in this season?
Oh, I don't know if I had one going in. I definitely have had some in the past. Like I know I think it was season 3. I really, really was pitching hard for Tariq to kill someone in that same way that we saw Ghost's first kill. I don't know if you guys remember the pilot. He like goes downstairs from the club and he shoots this guy,
Yes.
then he saves it. And I was like, Tariq should take someone. Like I was like, we should recreate it. It was our intro to Ghost, and it made everybody be like, oh, this show's gonna be phenomenal. And of course, we never did it because you never saw it. So, but there is like that. I was on that train for a while. But this season, I don't know if I had one that was like I really really wanted to call back. And in some ways, probably because going into the season in our brains, we're like, oh, this is the season where we're gonna take Tariq to heights unseen, and he's gonna become, our apex predator. That was our words in the room. And so instead of doing callbacks, it was kind of that thing where it was like, let's do things that we hopefully have never seen before.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I mean, that would have been iconic to see Tariq in a suit, and he's going down to one of his like college parties,
Yeah.
basements, and they
I
recreate
actually
that
wanted him
scene.
to do it at Zeke's memorial. I
Oh,
want him to leave the middle of the Zeke memorial and have to kill someone and then go upstairs and make this speech about how people painted him incorrectly, by calling him a murderer because he got arrested on campus, but he had literally just murdered
yeah.
somebody. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been a really interesting twist. Like
Yeah.
thinking about it, because I was like trying to picture which scene that would have been perfect because he really did go up there and it's like I am
Yeah, yeah.
gonna.
This speech was like, y'all trying to paint Zeke like a bad guy, just like you did me. And it was like, oh, Tariq.
All right,
The
what
audience knows.
Right, right.
Zeke was one thing, you are another though.
Exactly. Zeke was an innocent party. You, sir, killed your professor.
I,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally, totally. So that was season 3. But I really I pitched it too many times. I was like, can we please do this? They were like, no. I was like, fine.
And then I know I even poked fun at you in your DMs about Monet's death and how you're saying that that was a collaborative decision. What were some of the other kind of things that you maybe went back and forth on, or things that you
Oh,
weren't so
about Monet's death?
excited to have
Oh,
made the scene?
so many, so many. It was so many debates about how Monet would die and who would kill her.
Okay.
Um, and it wasn't even a decision that Monet would die in 9 at one point. Like we found out Monet would die at 9, like it in 9. Like it wasn't like we were
Hey,
like episode 4 and we're gonna build to No, it was a crazy experience. But originally, and I'm gonna try to make sure I'm remembering correctly. Originally, Monet was supposed to essentially they were supposed to like find a way to barricade Noma into her like bridal suite, and she was gonna like find a way out onto the street. And as Monet was like Noma was gonna stab Monet in the neck, and that was gonna be how she died. It was like supposed to be like a very like personal,
Yeah.
like up close
right.
person type of death where and no one was supposed to see it except Kane.
Wow.
So Kane was supposed to get distracted by Anya somehow. Like Anya was supposed to like, I don't know, mace him, slap him. I don't know, she kick him in the balls. She was supposed to do something where he was like unable to assist. And then Noma was gonna catch Monet kind of slipping a little bit and stab her in the neck and then pull the knife out and blood spews over her white dress because it was supposed to be at their wedding.
Right.
supposed to be at their reception, and then she dies in the middle of the street with Kane only there, kind of screaming her name. So that was the original.
Wow. I
Yeah,
know. It's like just thinking about how that
yeah,
scene could have played out. Wow. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I wrote that. That's on paper.
okay.
Yeah, that's on
Was
paper.
that what changed? Like within 24 hours? Wow.
That's what changed within 24 hours. So that is like the kind of the second half of the script is Monet's death. Like it's like a lot of page count. So yeah, so then the word came down that no, it needs to be bigger. We need Monet to go out in a blaze of glory,
Mm,
And so notes were made to me, and we were headed into a strike.
right.
So, strike was May 1st. I think I got the call on, like, April 29th, maybe April 30th, and it was
Crazy.
like, "We need this done by May 1st because the writers are gonna strike in May on May 1st at midnight." And so, that we went through a loop of, like, "Okay," and the room was closed, so it was kinda just me and the showrunner and a computer, you know?
Right. Oh my
Yeah, and so we talked about how it would happen, and
god.
then I rewrote the second half of the script.
Wow. Like,
Yep.
How,
It's crazy.
how did it like I hear basically a major component of that scene was that Kane had to view it, or there's
see.
going to be some
Mhm.
sort of aspect with Kane viewing it.
Well,
So,
the major thing that we needed Kane to do was make a decision. So
mm,
so, and we debated about would he choose Noma, would he choose Monet, but a decision had to be made from Kane.
mm,
Specifically, does he choose his new wife? Because we wanted to ensure that they were married when the death
yeah,
happened.
Right.
Does he choose his new wife, or does he choose his mother? And what are the reasons behind it? So Kane needed to be present because the way that the original script was written was that Kane was going to hesitate. Like he was going to get a chance to save Monet's life, and he was going
okay,
to hesitate, and that hesitation forced Noma to kill Monet.
okay, okay.
But then
That's
the way that you see it, he does hesitate, but after his hesitation, he explains to the audience why he's choosing Monet. In the original, he doesn't necessarily explain himself, but visually, we were just gonna, get Woody in that moment of thinking about what he was gonna do, and Noma understanding that if you hesitate, then the choice isn't me.
yeah.
And so she was gonna take out the other option, which was Monet.
Got it. What about the aspect of him being like helpless? Like, was that another added on layer? Like, he literally can't do any, like, after he
Yeah.
already made the
Yeah,
decision.
so that is a piece of it that gives you
Yeah.
the depth of his hurt,
Mm,
because the depth of his hurt comes from the fact of him saying, "This is the person in my life who has always been there for me. And
mm,
in the moment when she needs me, I'm unable." And also, I put her here, right? It's my wedding. I'm unable to save her, but throughout my entire life, she has saved me. So, putting him in that moment of helplessness is what gets you that ability for him to exact such revenge in the next episode where he doesn't
Yeah.
care about himself. He literally kills Monet in front of 20 cops, right? It's because in the moment when Monet dies, you could have also killed Kane.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're just saying all the feelings that I
I
had
mean, yeah,
in the
that I mean
moment
we
of watching that scene,
yeah.
because it's like, oh, please, someone untie Kate so he
Right. Someone
like,
help him.
yeah, someone help.
Right.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
wait, someone help. Because then you see Diana and Drew, coming in almost seconds, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
between being able to do something and not, and just
And I think that the beautiful thing about that is that like I know people online, they make jokes about Diana and Drew being late, right? They're like, "Where the fuck was y'all at?" Like, it's like this thing where they make a lot of jokes about them being late. But the thing that makes it beautiful with them being late is that they were just on time enough to see Monet die, which gives them the emotion to
yeah,
allow Diana to kill Anya on sight.
on
Mhm.
site.
No.
Said
Never
it,
did.
no hesitation
No
even.
hesitation.
Even said, "Let
Understood.
me know how it feels." Like,
Right.
know. It's like, oh
Exactly.
my gosh, Diana, like a couple episodes ago, you were just excited to be a mom, to be a
Right.
regular person, to get out. And now it's like, no mercy. After she killed the dirty cop, that was
Yeah,
also,
Felicia.
that was a heavy scene to
Yeah,
watch.
it's funny. It's like I wanna just name that
Coming
episode
back.
by Felicia, like,
Yeah, for real. Because it
yeah.
was like there was no coming back from that.
Yeah,
At least in
Right.
like our eyes. Like
no,
we
it's not.
know
It's not coming
Diane
back. Once you kill
had to do
Felicia
something.
in the way that she killed Felicia, you say Monet 2.0 is born.
Yeah.
No, truly. Like I think in that moment, like now we could see, like you said, like us turning into our parents. Like like we don't necessarily know all of what Monet had to deal with.
Right.
In terms of her growing up and like what things she had to do and what things she had to experience, and so we kind of get a glimpse of that. What could have happened or
Yep.
through Diana, and so it's like if
Right.
those things are happening to you, like now we see like why the anger is so warranted, like why we see you
Yeah.
being so kind of like it's this or it's that, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and having to have this sort of mindset. It was very much in a survival kind of way, and so I think that was the aspect that she taught to her kids. But
Yeah.
at the same time, that anger does brew, and that it does grow, and that resentment
Yeah.
leads
It
to
all
different
grows, and we've
reactions.
seen it grow over,
Yeah.
years, and it all came out,
Yes. But
Absolutely.
that was a tough scene to watch. Her baby die in that way. But it was even. I was a little bit shocked. I didn't know, how they were gonna tie Anya back into like because
Into it.
it was always explained, like this is the only person or thing that Noma actually cares about. So,
Right.
they were making it seem, like I definitely think you guys were gearing us up to be like, okay, well, she's definitely gonna be the main token of how we get
Right, of how we mess with Noma going forward. We're like,
right.
"Oh, you got something that you love? Perfect,"
Right, exactly. But to see, Diana be the
Oh,
one,
yeah.
'cause of course it was like, okay, if it's Kane, that's a no.
Or if it's Tariq, or if it's
He wants
somebody,
to be
yeah.
with every, all
Mm,
anybody that's related to Noma, even her brother, if he gets in the way. But to see Diana do it, it was like, okay, wow. Like
yeah,
now, again, like we see that trajectory of like, this is where it starts, and
yeah.
it's almost like we
And I
can't
and I
blame you
think I think
for
what
it.
you get in 9 is when they go to Vicky's amusement park is you see her be able to do it. Like, you saw her kill someone in 6, it was
Yeah,
emotional, right? Then you see her in 9, it's more, like, tactful, like, they're, like, planning to go there to take out the Russians in order to save Monet and Tariq. And then what you get in 10 is a mix between both, right? Because you would think, "Oh, it's strictly emotion," but then literally the next scene, she tells Kane, like, it wasn't emotional. I saw her and I wanted her dead, like,
yeah.
period. Like,
She
and
said,
so you
and
get
it's
that blend of the
gone
2
now, right?
episodes that come together. Yeah.
Whoa! I was like that. Those two scenes, it really just those always get to me. Cause every even like when I went back to rewatch the episode, I almost had to cover my eyes. Like, no, please don't do that to Diana. She's really tried to be a regular student. She doesn't
Right.
want
She's just trying to be a good person and be a mom out here.
right.
Yes.
But then that reminds me of the symbolism of when she bought the globe. That little
Yep.
I don't even know what you call it, but it's like that ice globe,
Yeah.
and it's like her world was in it. And then like as soon as the dirty cop Felicia, by Felicia, like swung it
Yeah.
down and like broke it. It's almost like then I think that's when we could have known like her
Like,
world
you
is
knew at
about to
that moment, "Oh, some stuff about to go down with Diana."
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's incredible writing. It really is. And I think it's like a good slight segue, if I can, if that's cool, Ace, to go into just a little bit of character deep diving
Yeah.
because
Let's do it.
um, last time we really talked about just from Tariq's perspective, how, of course, he was turning to his father, how his father really represented this king, this magician and warrior.
Yeah.
And I really love that conversation. But just watching the second half of the season, especially just this big moment of Monet dying, then then Noma dying, and Diana killing Noma's daughter. Like it's like it all seemed to be very much to me this themes surrounding motherhood.
Oh, yeah.
And I really wanted us to kind of explore that with you, in looking deeper into the feminine archetype of mothers. So, for those who remember from last time, and if you would like, just a little plug for the channel, Hot Nerd Net, we have a whole deep dive into the feminine archetypes. There's 7, and this one of the archetypes is mother. And it was interesting in our last conversation we talked about how while father would probably be up there for Ghost, it might not have been as up there as King, Magician, Warrior, or it could have been, more present for him in certain seasons versus
Mhm.
it being him at the very beginning. And so this is like the other side of it. This is just the feminine archetype version of father, which is mother. In other words, caretaker, nurturer. And you can see here like some of the gifts that the mother and the Greek gods archetype for mother is Demeter. That's who's the green lady in the middle.
Mm.
But the gifts are love and nurturing, but some of the challenges can be codependency and lack of boundaries. Um, I think another archetype that I would say also kind of plays into both it's all 3 of the what I just talked about, it would potentially be queen, and I'll try to pull that up for us to look at too. But just to give you an idea, some of the challenges that the queen archetype will deal with in a similar vein to the king archetype that Ghost has is just is can be jealousy, can be like control, like needing to have control. And so when you're looking at this and we're meditating on Noma and Monet as mothers, I guess a question that comes to mind is just like where did this theme lie? One for you as a mother, but also two in the writer's room. Like, was it a big point, to make sure that certain story beats were hit to draw back to this theme of motherhood, or how do you see it playing into
Yeah.
the storytelling?
Definitely, especially for Monet, just because 'cause we've been with Monet from the very first season. You're
Mhm,
introduced to her in the pilot as kind of a guardian for Zeke. Like,
mhm,
Zeke is about to, like, kinda get into a rumble with, Black Rail, and then Monet comes out and she's like, "Zeke, get in the house," right? And then Kane and Monet together handle Rail. So from there, that is her attempt at nurturing it just in 2 different ways. She's nurturing Zeke in a careful way because she wants to protect him because she understands where his future lies. She's nurturing Cain in a different way, but she's is still in a way of protection, right? She wipes the blood from his face, right?
mhm.
And so whenever we talk about Monet, it's always a underlying element of who she is as a mother because we're literally following her journey as a mother, but also the effect that her motherhood has on her kids.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's a great point, and I guess from the perspective of Noma, at least for me, it was her showing of motherhood was on the layer surface, it could seem like it's similar to Monet, but it felt in a sense different. While,
I
sh
think Monoma's way of mothering is similar to Ghost's way of fathering.
yeah, yeah, and it's like she wanted to keep her children away.
Yeah.
Like, uh, it felt and it's what felt like, in a sense, similar was just, like, her level of manipulation was, like, I don't know, on a different level that I
Mhm.
felt like, um I mean, Ghost was pretty manipulative, but, like, it I don't know, maybe it's just because it's coming from a woman, but it's like, it just felt like some of the things that she was able to use,
Mhm.
it felt very manipulative. It felt very similar to sometimes where Monet would come in and use similar manipulative tactics, but in
Yeah.
just different ways because she kept her children in on, a
Oh,
lot of the
look,
things that
yeah.
they were doing.
I think in a way, if you're going to hide, pretty much who you are from your kids, there is a form of manipulation that has to take place, right?
Right,
Because of course you're lying to them, but also you're hiding things, which is inherently manipulative, right? So those forms of manipulation, like I feel like she just had to figure out ways over the years, especially as your kids get older, they're more observant and they understand things differently and more clearly. And so, like, she's like, go here, go there, don't go here, don't go there, talk to this person. It's just, it's like this form of such of a deep control factor without any reasoning, right? You would like to say, Mom, can I do this? No. Why? And then you get an explanation. Her why is because I said so.
Yeah.
It was like that's how she chose to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel as if, like, when we're thinking about some of these challenges of the archetype of mother, lack of boundaries, codependency,
Mhm.
where do you see that play in either Monet or Noma?
Oh, neither one of these women have boundaries, okay? They like, did we not see Monet bust in on Kane having sex with somebody? That was like maybe
Yes.
like one or two. I was like, you can't knock later. You knew he was in there with a woman. Like, boundaries do not exist. Yeah, and Noma just pops up on Anya wherever she goes, right? She just like, oh, I saw on your GPS you were at a party. I'm coming to party too. What Tariq tell her? This ain't your age group, baby. Like, so yeah, they lack boundaries.
Mhm.
And yeah, totally a level of codependency too, because similar to Kane, Monet has a hard time operating in the criminal world without one of her kids with her.
Yeah, fair.
Like, and you can say, well, it's because she trusts them, or like, you can make it into something that's flowery. But I think in real life, there is a level of codependency of I need one of them present to make me whole. And I do think as a parent, the famous saying is, I have my heart outside of my body. You feel safer when your kid is with you because you know they're safe.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of how Monet operated. And for Noma, and when she gave us her backstory, she saw her mother be killed. It's possible that she felt safe. She felt Anya was safe when she wasn't with her. So that Anya didn't get the same result that she got, which is to see her mother be killed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so real. And I guess I know she's not pictured here, but how do you feel like this archetype played in with Diana? Like it felt
Mm.
like just
Yeah.
her child being taken away from her did kind of play into, and her mother being taken away from her too did play into her decision to immediately kill Anya. But like, how did you?
Yeah, but I think as soon as Diana found out she was pregnant,
Yeah.
we got the love and nurturing, right? She literally told Tariq, if you're gonna choose this life, I don't want you present in
Mm,
my child's life because I understand what the consequences are. Like that's totally love and nurturing, right? And so she was like headed in the direction just at the moment that she heard that heartbeat in episode 5.
yeah, absolutely. At least I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to play into here, but those are my questions.
No, because I mean, just playing back on that, because um, basically Diana losing both her mom
Yeah.
and now her child. It's almost like she was like a mixture of both of them. Like
And to
Yeah.
be fair,
how,
Diana lost everything. If you think
yeah,
about the end of the season, the person to me that lost everything was Diana. She lost her mom. She lost like both of her brothers, right? Kane's on the run, Drew's going off to Paris. Her
yeah,
dad was already gone. Her and Tariq weren't, and it's not like they were dating. Like they had sex like one time she got pregnant, then she had lost the baby by then. She's literally she's standing at a table with no one in it. You know what I mean? Like it's a home, an
same,
empty home.
Yeah,
So those are the things that you would have liked to explore what that looks like for Diana, but she was left without anything, or without not anything, but without anyone.
for sure. No, thank you. Thank you for this kind of exploration into the feminine archetypes, coming back into it. But no, I completely agree. That I mean that's at least what had played out to me as far as seeing this kind of interweaving of how motherhood played a aspect of some of these characters' motivations throughout the end of the season. So just knowing that, of course, that you were behind some of the writing of it, I was like, wow, I wonder how Ashley feels about this as a mother
Yeah.
herself.
No, it is a part of it. I do think because the series question is, "Am I my father?" We have to
Mm,
think about what roles parents play
absolutely.
in their child's like trajectory through life.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Awesome. And then, just wrapping everything up now, like, what was your reaction, you know, now that the season's all said and done? Like, what
Yeah.
was your reaction from our reaction? Like, how did you feel, not only for episode 9, because I could tell you plenty of comments where they were just like, oh my gosh, this episode was the one for
Yeah,
me.
not the
Like,
two.
all the memes about
Yeah.
going to Monet's funeral, like, oh,
Right.
funeral, all the
R.I.P.
how do you feel, after
It's
now that the project is done, like with the response that you received?
it's always a great feeling. Even the bad comments, I've seen them all too. It's always a great feeling to know that people are invested. That's number one. I think like when you write on a show and you put so much of your time and effort into it, to get a response, whether it's good or bad, but to know people watched it and they had opinions about it and emotions towards it, it's a great feeling. It makes you feel like that's why you like most people get into writing for television because they have something to say and they want a creative outlet for it. And we sell, I make the joke. I've been selling drugs for like 4 or 5 years now, right? So we sell drugs on our show, but we have themes within it, that allow us to have deeper conversations about life and about the human experience. So when people also dig deep within themselves and understand it, it's like, yeah, it makes all the hard work so worth it. So it's been an amazing journey that I never would have thought when I was a kid that this is what life would be, but it's a truly a blessing.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, we
Yeah.
love that. You turned me into a crazy fan. I was like, I swear I won't ever like go into somebody's DMs and be like, why did you do that? Why did you take me
Oh,
off?
if I look, we could do I could read you my DMs. We could do a whole
Please.
segment on read Ashley's DMs post
We would
409.
love
Look,
I was
Ashley did.
like,
I've been
I
called
have
everything from a
the
genius to a
Monet.
liar. Like I was like, yeah. Some people were so mad, and some people were just like, whatever. But yeah, it's crazy.
that.
Yeah,
I hope it gives you a laugh at the end of the
it
day.
really does. I literally read them to my friends and family. I'm like, yeah, this is a funny one. Like I'll screenshot it. I'll send it to my brother. Like, yeah, this is.
Oh my goodness.
But like I say, it's the investment. Like it is the thing. They are invested, and they go and find who wrote the episode.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so happy. I actually know who wrote this.
Yeah.
Right. No,
I
this
need to go
time.
to her directly and say, why did you do this?
It was not my decision. Look,
I know. Yeah,
it's
it's
above
like,
my pay grade to make that decision. That is above my pay grade. I wrote the words. I did not make the final
yeah,
decision.
Still, it's just like you can see your artistry, and it's like even just to have that little peek behind the curtain of what it could be, it's like we were winning anyway. Either way,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna win. And man, just having like you at behind it. But I have to ask. I mean, I saw I had read this somewhere, but did Courtney come and help you for this episode, or was this
I,
just
I
like
don't know where that came from. I read that also.
right? I was like, wait,
That is not accurate at all.
still
Love Courtney, but
yeah,
she did not help me with 409.
got it.
Maybe it would have been better had she done so, but
Oh, that's even just
but
so
no. But yeah, I don't know where that came from. I saw that also. Someone online was like, "Who wrote 409?" And it was a comment under it that said, "Courtney Kemp left Netflix to go and write this episode herself." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting right there."
right.
Had no clue.
it was the spirit of Courtney coming through you like
Had no clue. Shout out to Courtney Kemp
I
who
know.
wrote 409.
no, but no,
No, but that also baffles me is how everyone knows every single word of It's a Big Rich Town. But they missed the written by after every like it's there for us to read. But everybody thinks 50 Cent wrote every episode,
Oh,
right? It's like it's the strangest thing to me. I swear I think about this all the time.
Oh, 50 Cent.
They know the words to the song, but they are not looking at the screen
no,
as
they're
they
not.
sing the lyrics, right? They were so mad that it was Trey Songz and not Joe, but they have no clue who wrote the episode, and it's right there for them. Whole
But when
government name.
we changed the theme song, we're like, no, you need to
That's what
switch
I'm saying.
back.
I'm like,
So
it,
do that.
it says producer 50 Cent, not
I know.
writer
Not
50 Cent.
writer.
It
No one
doesn't.
knows the difference.
No one knows the difference. You're right. You're right. No one knows the
But
difference.
we do. We do. We are
Yeah.
here to celebrate
But
you.
yeah, to be no. So no, Courtney did not help write the episode. I wrote a draft, and it just like everybody's episode, you write your draft and then you send your draft to the showrunner. The showrunner does a pass. Well, actually, he gives you notes. So the showrunner gives you notes. Then you write another draft, and then you send that draft. And then if the showrunner wants to change something, they can or do. But because of the strike, the one of the great things I say about the strike is like when you watch the episodes that were produced while we were on strike, which is like episodes I think 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay.
Because of the strike, no one could change
Yeah.
the words on the page.
That's
So
right.
for 7 through 10, what the writer wrote is what we got.
I love that.
No changes could be made. And so yeah, so pretty much every word you see on screen right here, you
Has-
know?
Yeah,
Let's give you
exactly.
your flowers
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
excellent, excellent, excellent. Like I'm about to go downstairs and rewatch that episode
Right?
because it's just one of those memorable ones that's like it's
Well, I
gonna stick
appreciate it.
out and definitely go down in power history. But I have to ask,
I was about to say,
who do you think Tariq was talking to in the end of
Nah, you're not about to get me in trouble talking about who Tariq. I don't know who called Tariq on his free time. I don't know. No
what
clue
is
who
your
calls.
theory of in an ideal world? Where do
Oh,
you
in an
think?
ideal world. I don't know. I ideal world. I actually, and this is not something that I've seen online, I don't think, but I actually find more interest. I'm gonna say the word interest in Tariq having been talking to Tasha and Yasmin.
wow.
I know the theories are out there. He was talking to Diana, he was talking to Tommy.
I saw the one about Tommy, but then someone said like, why on earth would Tommy the Terminator, who has no problem,
Why
kill
does he need
going
Tariq?
and killing
Right.
whoever he needs to be killed on his own?
Yeah.
It definitely wouldn't be if he needed help reaching back out to Tariq of
Right.
all people. But I mean,
Yeah. But I
it
was not, like, I those are the two that I've heard. I've heard Tommy and I've heard Diana over. Like that's the internet over and over and over. Social media is that.
yeah.
But there may be some interest in some other people. I don't know. But Tariq learned the game from Tasha.
Right. And like it would just harken back to the themes that you and Lacey have just talked about these last two episodes of just like, him stepping up in Ghost's role in a certain
Yeah.
sense, like that would be that culmination of that. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And now he is Ghost, so maybe he needs his
Right.
mom to explain to him how actually he operated,
Right.
like what he did to make it legit and work.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I don't think that's what it is, but you asked ideally,
I do.
so
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's my ideal is to see that happen like that. But I don't know. Whoever he was talking to, shout out to you know,
And
say your drugs.
I definitely have to ask as well, like what is next for Ashley or
Yes.
where do you want to go?
Oh, where do I want to go? Oh my goodness, Pinky and the Brain, we trying to take over the world.
Yes.
Yeah, no, just currently working on a lot of different projects. Hopefully, some that I can tell you guys about in the
Yes.
future, but none that I can tell you about in the moment. But yeah, working on a lot of different like 4 different projects that are in various stages that, fingers crossed will one day grace the screens
Yes,
of millions of people, you know?
absolutely.
Is
Oh
it
my
in
god.
the same like genre, or do you want to
It's
see?
always drama, but, we're not necessarily selling drugs anymore.
Sorry. I don't
You
know.
know,
Crazy.
I'm trying to pull a Drew. I'm gonna upgrade my
Okay, you
life.
trying to go?
I'm trying to upgrade my life a little
I know.
bit.
No, literally, I mean, from what I'm here, literally going to Paris soon. Hopefully, yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
be great.
Exactly. We're trying to upgrade life a little bit. I'm not opposed to selling drugs, but you know.
We will be here to cover it all.
There
Whatever.
he goes. But
What,
no matter what we're doing, we're gonna have exactly. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah. But no, I think like I say, whether you're selling drugs or not, to me, it really is about that deeper story that you're telling. Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
We're excited to see you pull all the parts of your identity out to tell us. So yeah, we'll be watching. We'll be watching. But shout out to you and the team for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Yes. So just want to close it out by saying thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah,
you so much for joining us again to give us these incredible insights. It's almost like I just rewatched the whole season talking about it with you now. It's like I could go on forever and ever. Syd knows.
Me
I
too.
he does. She
and
does.
I do. Once again, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. It's always a pleasure. And yes, we definitely will be looking out for your next projects because we will be pulling you right back in
Let's do it.
to the Hot Nerd Network because we want to see and
Yeah.
hear from you. And can't wait to see where, your pen takes you and see
Same.
it grace.
Same for you guys.
Yes. And no, no, for real, shout out to you and shout out to Lacey wherever she is. We adore and love you both. I do have to give a shout out though to you, Neri, for real. Like a big part of the spirit of the Hot Nerd Network is just people nerding out over their favorite shows. And when I tell you, Neri has been a diehard stan for years.
Years.
Years and years and years. Like I remember just sitting in multiple apartments, her just like, okay, I gotta just talk to you about power. I'm gonna talk to you. We're gonna break it down in a similar vein to just somebody nerd out about Harry Potter, Game of Thrones. Like, just seeing your love of this universe has inspired me to get into the show. Has just inspired so many people around you.
And it is what makes the show iconic. I would, yeah. Fans such as that make the show like it made the show what it is. It's the reason that Power can have what 3 spinoffs, you know. So
And
yeah,
we
Right.
were all family. Like we were
Yeah,
yeah,
all.
we
it's
see.
true. It's true. It's much appreciated.
So no, I gotta give a shout out to you and yes, I just everybody, all the hot nerds out there, make sure to give a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to keep seeing more power content. We keep seeing writer circles, and just give it some love, share love instead of hate. Okay, for such an incredible project. Um,
Okay.
but yes, we have more amazing content to come, so stay tuned and yeah, have a great one. Stay nerdy, y'all. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.